Anarka Akaza here, and this is a video I've been waiting to do for a very long time now. I'm actually in the Philippines, and part of this video took place in the United States. Part of it took place just recently here in the Philippines. It's a comparison of Jollibee in the United States versus Jollibee here in the Philippines. Now, before I get into the comparison of the two, let me know that I don't eat fast food, really. I really don't. But in 2021, I worked for DoorDash, and in late 2021, around August till December, I DoorDashed across the U.S. And one of the places that I went was Southern California. And while I was in Southern California DoorDashing around, I believe it was down in Irvine, I got a DoorDash at a Jollibee. First ever Jollibee DoorDash. Some memories. Oh, sick! So, you know, it had been 3 years since I had seen my wife and 3 years since I've been in the Philippines, so it kind of made me a little homesick for, you know, I miss my wife. When I went there, I picked up the meal and I delivered it, and then I signed out a DoorDash, and I quickly went right back, just because it's like, I've never had the American version of Jollibee. I've obviously had the Philippine original version, but I've never had the American version. So, what you're about to see is my experience at the US version of Jollibee. Now, some of the videos are in portrait, some of it's in landscape, because I'm mostly active on Instagram with my reels, and so the portrait videos are reels and the landscape ones are just videos that I film. But this is Jollibee in Irvine, California. Just like in the Philippines, there's no dark pepper. Can't make that up. That's what they're doing. At Jollibee in the US, there's no dark pepper.
Jolly, jolly, Jollibee, jolly, 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 Jollibee, jolly, 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 Jollibee, jolly, 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 Jollibee, jolly, jolly. Halina't magsaya.
So here's the bag. Here's the spicy chicken joy. And here's the feller itself. Looks good. Nice and firm and crisp and juicy. It looks good. Alrighty, so the footage you just got done watching was of my visit to the Jollibee location in Irvine, California, late 2021. Now the footage you're about to watch is of me and my wife just a few days ago visiting the Jollibee in Manila outside of Rizal Park. So we just left Rizal Park right there. Them smell good. Jollibee. Hell yeah. Corn. Balloons. Yeah. You know, that actually doesn't sound that bad right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of craving some Jollibee. You know, and so I'm gonna be over there this time at Jollibee. You can see here in Manila. And I'm gonna get something that I don't normally get. Chicken Joy 102. It's a spicy chicken joy with rice and a drink. Now I don't normally eat chicken legs, but I just kind of saw one on the billboard back there and I was like, I kind of want that. The nastiest thing they have on the menu is that spaghetti. They do have a crispy chicken sandwich though, but I'm like, eh. Most of their menu items, but I'm just craving a chicken leg right now. I'm hardcore craving a chicken leg. I saw that advertisement over there and I was like, I need a fucking chicken leg now. We just walked about 4 miles. That's a meal for warriors. Chicken joy with spaghetti. Spaghetti. That's pretty good. The burger steak, that's pretty good. But yeah. Alright, let's see what the hell we're working. Cat's up. So we got a spicy chicken joy here. Rice, burning hot. Here's the pride and joy itself. Spicy flag on there. Gravy for the rice. So there we go. I'll give credit where it's due. It's spicy, all right. Hell yeah. Bam, just like that. My wife is so American, look at her. She's dipping her fry in her ice cream. I'm proud of you for that. Alright, now that you've watched both videos, the first video of me, myself, eating at Jollibee in Irvine, California, after it was door dashing, and then the video of my wife and I dining in at Jollibee in the Philippines in Manila outside of Rizal Park, you'll notice a couple differences there. First and foremost, in the US, although you could dine in, since there were people definitely sitting down at that Jollibee in Irvine, I ordered my meal, I got my drink, I got my meal, and went out to my car and I ate. Because that's just how I do stuff in the US. And girls that I've dated in the past, I've never really been the type of person to dine in. I mean, sometimes when I'm with my mom or with my grandma, we'll do that, but for the most part, when I'm with someone and we go to eat out, we go to the drive-thru, or if we go in, unless it's like at a fancy restaurant, we go and get our food, we go out, eat in the car, and we maybe drive to a park or somewhere, or just go back home and eat. We don't really dine in that much. In fact, a lot of restaurants in the United States have been closing their dine-ins just because it's not really as popular as it used to be. When I was growing up, yeah, you dine in all the time, but as I've gotten older, I personally just prefer to get my food and go home and eat in the privacy of my own home. In the Philippines, it's the total opposite. I mean, yes, some places got drive-thrus, and yes, there is takeout. There also obviously takeout. But you saw just how packed that Jollibee was full of families, and it ain't just that one, it's all of the Jollibees. Hell, sometimes you have to do takeout because sometimes you go to a Jollibee or a restaurant like that, you can't even find a place to sit because there's just loaded with families. Unlike in the United States where, it's all about fast service and, come and go, convenience, go to Starbucks, go to Taco Bell, go to Sonic, get your stuff and get out, McDonald's, get your stuff and get out. Here in the Philippines, it's much different. Here in the Philippines, it's something you do on special occasions, and that's something that I've learned about this country. I mean, of course, not always. Of course, like we just went in there for a snack up at lunch, and, some people do that, and there's a couple foreigners in there that they were just getting their grub, but a lot of times, and I've been told this by a lot of Filipino friends of mine, eating out, it's not a everyday life sort of thing. Like, when I was in the U.S., I was eating Taco Bell, or I was eating Chipotle for lunch, or Buffalo Wild Wings. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings all the time. I got a couple of beers, some chicken wings, or nachos just for a snack. Eating out, fast food is a huge thing in the U.S. And yes, like I said, it's a big thing here too, but for the most part, here in the Philippines, it's a family dine-in sort of thing. One of my favorites in Tanza is Connie, Sisig, and Tapsi. My buddy Aries, his family owns that place, and you can dine in there, but a lot of times I just do takeout because I live up the street from it, and so it's kind of nice that way. That's just me though. Like I am not a dining in person, and most of my friends back in the States, they're not dining. We just prefer the drive-through to get our food and go, which is what I did in the U.S. Now in the Philippines, my wife and I dine in, and almost every single time my wife and I go somewhere out to eat, we always do dine in, just because that's just how she prefers. That's how, back when her parents were alive, they're deceased, rest in peace. So then her entire family would go out to the mall or the Jollibee or somewhere, and they would all sit down and have a family dinner. That's just how it is here. So that's one of the differences between the Jollibee experience in the U.S. and in the Philippines. The other difference is obviously the menu items. In the United States, there's chicken tenders on the menu. There are no chicken tenders on the menu here in the Philippines. In fact, you'll see in the U.S. on the menu there's a lack of rice, because Americans don't really eat rice, which I did find that kind of interesting because predominantly Filipinos eat at Jollibee, and you'd think since they eat at Jollibee they'd want rice, but both restaurants had Chicken Joy, Jolly Spaghetti, Burger Steaks. Most of the menu in the U.S. and the Philippine Jollibee are relatively the same, just a few nicks and knacks that are a little bit different, so not really much to cause alarm on there, but The one thing you will notice, and I slowed it down for you, is the drink sizes are like this in the U.S. versus the Philippines are like this. I didn't dine in, but if I would have, I could have gotten free unlimited refills because that's how it is in the U.S. In the Philippines, and I learned this the hard way actually in 2018. But that was actually the first time that I dined in at a restaurant in the Philippines that I showed you this year. I've only been here for 2 months as the recording of this video, but in the United States, when you go to a restaurant, it's free unlimited refill as long as you're in the restaurant. If you leave the restaurant, then you gotta pay for a brand new one. But as long as you're in there, free unlimited refills, especially like water, whatnot, soda, tea, whatever you're getting, it's free unlimited refills. Whether it's McDonald's, Subway, Jollibee, Sonic, Burger King, Taco Bell, Hardee's, Arby's, whatever. That's just part of it. That's one of the benefits of dining in, which sometimes, like when I was doing DoorDash, I'd go to Buffalo Wild Wings or I'd go to Arby's, I'd go somewhere, and I would dine in specifically for that reason, to eat my meal, to use the public Wi-Fi, which I didn't check to see if that Jollibee in Irvine had Wi-Fi. I should have, but I didn't. The Jollibees here, some of them do, some of them don't, just depending on where they're at. But I just when I discovered the Jollibee in Irvine, California, I just felt a little homesick to my wife because I hadn't seen her in 3 years. And in the past, girls that I've been with before my wife, like I said, I've had dates, but we never dined in anywhere. That's like my wife is the only woman I've ever been with where her and I went to a restaurant or a fast food joint and dined in, did it traditionally. So that's another thing that kind of makes it special. I didn't dine in the U.S. version just because I wanted to eat in my car where I feel more comfortable. But here, of course, when I go out there with my wife, I'm gonna dine in with her. So just to conclude this video, Jollibee USA versus Jollibee Philippines. Jollibee Philippines absolutely destroys. Jollibee Philippines is far superior. The taste, the quality, everything. Customer service on both sides is good. Jollibee menu in the Philippines is far superior than the U.S. menu. I mean, yes, U.S. got chicken tenders, but Philippines, it just tastes better. I do wish the portion sizes in the Philippines were a lot larger than they are, but hey, that's just American portion sizes that I'm having to get used to on the adaptation process. But anyway, guys, I'm Anarka Akaza, and my wife just came back in the house and she just killed my lights. Anyway, guys, I gotta get off here. My wife just got back home. I just want to give a couple of thoughts on Jollibee. Hope you enjoyed the video. More is coming.